the horror corner. Remember, there is no she. You are one. Respect the balance, and you won't have any more inconveniences. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen. This week we are doing another movie review. This is The Substance, released in 2024, written and directed by Coralie Fargeat, and starring Demi Moore, Margaret, Qualley, and Dennis Quaid, respectively. And The Substance is very much a body horror film, in the vein of David Cronenberg back in the day. So I bet David Cronenberg would really like this film, because it really goes in places you wouldn't expect and would never dream of. It just when you think it can't get any crazier or wilder, it goes there big time. And it goes there a lot. Just like David Cronenberg films back in the day. So Demi Moore stars as Elizabeth Sparkle, an aging Hollywood actress who's just gotten her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And there's a great scene there at the beginning when they're setting up the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and she comes out all dolled up and celebrating that. And then you get a close-up of the star, and you get to see that over time, over the years, through nasty weather, there starts to be cracks in the star, and people spill stuff on it and wipe stuff on it, and it gets older and more decaying, and that kind of tells the story of what we have here with this film quite a bit. So what happens in the film is Elizabeth Sparkle is working on this aerobics exercise TV show, and she's turned 50 years old, and the producers at this show, they kind of want to get someone a little younger, because although Demi Moore looks absolutely fantastic for her age, actually she's 62, but in the film she's playing a 50-year-old, so, Hollywood, in Hollywood standards, they want someone young and beautiful and flawless, and that's kind of the whole point of this movie, is the pressure of Hollywood to look young and to look vibrant and beautiful. And this woman, Elizabeth Sparkle, is kind of very self-conscious of that. And so she ends up getting fired from the show after being with them for years, And it really devastates her. She's just not prepared to deal with this. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know what to do with her life. How's she going to move forward? Even though she's extremely filthy rich, you see her house, she's in this gigantic mansion, this penthouse, but she's still not happy. She's miserable. She doesn't know what to do, how she's going to live going forward, and she's so distracted that when she goes out into a car and goes for a drive, she ends up having a horrific accident, but luckily, she doesn't even have a scratch, really. She survives, and she doesn't even have a scratch, so she's very lucky in that sense. But one of the doctors there kind of gives a little nod to her and says, well, wait, we need to test something else, and he starts feeling down her spine and her back. It's like, yes, you would be perfect for the procedure. And she's like, what? What are you talking about? And then as she leaves the building, she pulls out this note that the doctor gave her with this USB flash drive that says The Substance on it. And then in the note it says, this changed my life. And she's like, ooh, really intrigued. So she goes and plays the USB on her TV, and it's like this commercial for The Substance. this miracle drug that can produce like a younger, better version of yourself when you inject it. It's like this serum, like this bright green serum like you see in the film Reanimator with Herbert West when he had the reagent, similar to that. It's funny how the color scheme in this works too, is similar, very vibrant, bright colors, just like the bright green serum that is used in the substance. So she decides she's going to give it a shot, so she calls the number, and there's this very distinctive voice that's like, and then she says, I want the substance. So she goes to this, it's like, I guess this is off the black market show. She takes a walk down to this really seedy, run-down, ransacked building, and she goes inside, and there's this like locker room in this white room, and it's got the number 503, which is the number that she received as well, and it's got the package in it, and she grabs it and goes home, and it's this whole big kit with the serum and these injections, and there's a thing marked food, and then there's this thing marked stabilizer. So she injects herself with it, and she starts to convulse, and she's freaking out, and she's lands on the floor of the bathroom, and then she starts looking like she's basically gonna die. Only we see a shot of her back, and something's going on. Her spine is starting to bubble and burst, and and her spine completely splits open. And this film's got some awesome practical effects, by the way. They use a little bit of CGI here and there when you see the close-up of her eyes, and it starts to create a second pupil, and that's the duplicate being processed, and that runs down through her spine, and we start to see something come out of her spine, out her back, and we see that it's a human being coming out of her body. And man, you talk about body horror. Wow. We see that it's this beautiful young 20-year-old girl, the perfect body, the perfect boobs, the perfect butt, It's like, it's okay, so this is the point. It's kind of similar to Avatar in a way, where she's got this avatar of another person, a whole other young version. I mean, it's not like a duplicate of herself younger, it's like a whole other person. So she's getting to live her life in this beautiful girl's body with the perfect body, no wrinkles, no crevices or anything. And when I say, Demi Moore is a beautiful woman, granted she's 62 years old, because 62 is 62, but she looks as great as any 62-year-old person could possibly look. But again, you can't defy the laws of physics. You can only go so far, and that's kind of what happens in the movie. She looks in the mirror and she sees she's got some wrinkles and crevices. And this must have been very difficult for Demi Moore to film, because, I mean, she really puts herself out there, Yeah, I always appreciate that when a woman her age can look that good, because she had to work real hard to get there. Twice as hard as a 20-something-year-old girl has to work to look that good. So this film deals with the character Elizabeth's feelings of self-esteem, and she feels inadequate, and she feels the pressures of Hollywood to look beautiful, and she doesn't feel up to it anymore, because obviously she got fired from her job, so now she's just sunk into this level where she feels the need to take this substance. And this trick with the substance is you only have 7 days in the new body, and while you're in the new body you have to inject the old body with the food intravenously in order to keep the body alive, to keep the body stable. while it's kind of in hibernation. And you also have to inject yourself with the stabilizer fluid as well, and the old body with the stabilizer fluid. So she's got all kinds of vials of the stabilizer fluid that she has to use every day throughout that 7-day period. And if you don't, there's drastic consequences. And now you know we're in a horror movie, so you know things are gonna go wrong, right? And they absolutely do. The new body, she calls herself Sue. And she's like, hey, I got this new body, I look fantastic. So she decides to audition for Elizabeth's role, doing the aerobics TV show for the producer named Harvey, who's played by Dennis Quaid in the film. And he's just this super sleazy, super slimy douchebag with these, full body suits with this snakeskin leather, he's such a creep, And it's so funny, but he's great in the role. Dennis Quaid is great. Originally, I guess Ray Liotta was cast in that role, but unfortunately he passed away. But Dennis Quaid does a great job. And they always show these extreme close-ups of how creepy and slimy he is, of eating nasty food, and you see the stuff all over his face. And he smokes, so you see he's got the smoker teeth, the yellow teeth, and you see these close-ups, and it's so gross. They really do their best to make sure you're skeeved out by this guy. But it's hilarious. But yeah, so what happens is, she gets the job, and she does great, Harvey's in love with her, she thinks she's the next big thing, she's basically the replacement for Elizabeth Sparkle, taking over her career, and they want her for roles in movies and everything else. And they want her to host the New Year's Eve celebration on TV, which is their biggest show every year. They get 50 million viewers, so she's like super excited about that, but she's like, oh my god, she's got a couple months to get ready for it, but she has to make sure that she can do this and be able to stabilize the old body. Is she going to have enough time, or is she going to run out of time? And she starts screwing around. She goes a little bit over the time, a little bit over the 7 days, and she thinks she can take shortcuts and use this and inject the old body with more stabilizer fluid so that she lasts longer, that she can be in her new body a little bit longer. But you get the drastic side effects when you do that, and once she switches back to the old body, Elizabeth now has this grotesquerie on her finger. It's decayed and old and wrinkly and nasty. So yeah, she's feeling the side effects. Each time that Sue goes over the allotted time, once she does go back, Elizabeth is more and more deformed as the movie goes on, and she becomes more and more grotesque looking. Her face starts sagging, her body starts sagging. At one point she looks like Two-Face from the Batman series, with like half a nasty face, half her body's all grotesque, and it's crazy, man. So she starts calling the dude that controls the substance, and she's like, she's abusing her time, and he's just like, stop referring to her as her, it's you are one. There is no you and her, you're one, you're the same person, you're one and the same. So she starts freaking out, and she's constantly calling this guy, and he's like trying to tell her, you gotta respect the boundaries, you have to respect the balance, keep it balanced, you gotta follow the rules, or things are gonna go bad, and things just going worse and worse and worse as the movie goes along, and you get more and more creeped out, and it gets really, really intense. And like I said, just when you don't think the movie's going to go there, it goes even further. It pushes the limits. It pushes the boundaries of cinema in such a great way, though, you know. I love it. It's such an excellent movie. It's one of the best body horror movies I've ever seen. And I'm not really a huge fan of body horror. I do tend to get a little creeped out, like at the old David Cronenberg films like The Brood and Shivers and stuff like that. It just gets in, it gets under your skin and you just get like skeeved out, you know. But it's effective. That's what makes the film effective, and this film is very, very effective in the direction and in the writing and in the great performances. By the way, Margaret Qualley is fantastic as well in the role of Sue. She really does an excellent job, as does Dennis Quaid and everyone in the cast. Fantastic acting throughout the movie, A+ level, you know. And I do think this is an A+ level horror film with kind of a smaller budget. I guess it was like $17 million, but it made big bucks. It made $78 million, so it was a big success. You know, it first ran on the you know, the film festival scene, and then it was eventually released in theaters throughout the U.S. But yeah, I gotta say congrats to Demi Moore. She won a Golden Globe for her performance in the film for Best Actress. So this is her first acting award throughout her career, her 40-something year career. So that's great to see, and very proud of her. I remember back when she first came back from retirement, because she did retire for several years. And she came back, and I think it was Charlie's Angels 2, Full Throttle. But I never felt like she fully committed to her acting career, because at this point, you know, she has a family at home she has to provide for, and kids she has to raise, so I never felt like she fully committed to a career. But now that her kids are all grown, now she can fully commit, and she absolutely does with this movie, 100%. So congratulations to Demi Moore, and congratulations to Coralie Fargeat for making a fantastic film. And I definitely give this film 2 devil horns way up. And thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared. Good evening, folks, and we got some brand new merchandise for you over at www.thehorrorcona.com, and that's CONA.com. Representing the Horror Corner. Great new design. We got the Morbid Hour live stream there, you got the Horror Hangout live stream there, and you got my nemesis, the Dark Fate. So grab your t-shirt over at www.thehorrorcona.com. And we also got this beautiful new mug. Look at that. Very, very cool. Thought that came out really nice. So grab your merchandise today over at www.thehorrorcona.com.